What it do, y'all? Just got off from work, about to head to the gym. But before I left, I wanted to make sure I brought y'all this video. As y'all can see, man, this video is about the 5 things I've learned over the past 2 years working as a mechanical engineer. I do want to start this video off by saying first, I know I'm looking rough. I ain't had a cut in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm gonna get one soon, so don't say nothing about that. And then for number 2, most of the things I'm talking about today won't specifically be for mechanical engineers. Honestly, it'll be for anybody that works in the corporate world. But let's get into the points. My first one, I talked about this before in one of my previous videos. I'm just gonna go back into it. So, your network is your net worth. Now I know y'all probably have heard this before, and I know, like I said, I've said it before, but while working, I've definitely seen this play a huge part in different opportunities. One huge example of this is the fact that majority of the people that I work with now, they've either worked with each other or they've worked with someone who has worked with one of our current coworkers. Now, truthfully, just knowing them isn't enough, but if you keep your face card clean and you produce good work, it goes a long ways. I honestly feel like as long as you do those things, you'll get pulled up by people that you know. Another huge example of just having a great network and how that can help is me getting the scholarship that I mentioned in the previous video. By the way, if you didn't check that out, go check that out. That scholarship is a scholarship that many of my coworkers didn't even know was an option, honestly. Or they've never heard about it until I brought it to the table as something I wanted to apply for. And honestly, if I didn't know some of the people that I knew, I don't think I ever would have found out about it. Definitely make sure that you're talking to everyone, you know everyone at your company, at your job. And also just don't be afraid to ask questions and learn from everybody. Like I said, as long as you keep your face card clean, you do good work, and you leave a great impression, you never know what opportunities they may bring to you, or how when they move and go to another job, if they may come back and pull you from where you're at and pull you up. So definitely keep that in mind when working in the corporate world. Number 2, everything you learn in school won't be used when you start working. And so I also feel like this is another one that most people probably know and has probably heard from other people, but it's something that I kind of struggled with being an engineer early on. At the beginning, I expected to come in and be still doing math problems and deriving equations and doing specific engineering problems. But I had to learn that us doing that work wasn't specifically to just know how to do that type of work. We truly learned those things to just have a certain mindset of solving problems as an engineer. Don't get me wrong, you still see some things in that nature. So for me being an engineer, I do still see math problems. I do still see equations and different theories that may pop up when I'm talking about how an analysis is completed or how research is being done. But as far as doing the actual deriving and starting from scratch on some paper, is not done very often. It was somewhat frustrating when I first started working, only because I felt like I learned all of those things for no reason. But as I worked more and more, I realized that having that background and having that foundation gave me the ability to understand the results of some of the tests that were going on, the analysis, the studies, things of that nature. So I was able to look at a set of data, I was able to look through different tables and charts and different specs and understand what was going on and what was needed. Now, I know I'm a mechanical engineer talking about this, but I've also talked to some other people who do different things and they seem to agree with me. The reason behind why we don't use everything in college is because of what my next point is, which is what we learn while in college is very, very broad. So honestly, I believe this could really be because of me only having my bachelor's right now. And so me having a mechanical engineering degree, it's a very, very broad field to study. And so because of that, they have to teach you as much as they can in that curriculum so that way you can succeed no matter what you're doing as a mechanical engineer. And I think this goes for any degree in undergrad. Your basis, what you get at your undergrad level, it's just an overall foundation that you can use regardless of what your specific job is. But as you begin to work and you start working in a specific field or working as a specific position, you'll begin to kind of see that you're working with only a certain part of what your degree is. So I've talked to some of my old classmates who also graduated with their mechanical engineering degree, and we're not doing the same things at all. I mean, most of us are doing completely different things, and that's because it's a very broad degree. And so I learned that most people start getting into specifics of what they're doing in their career when they get their master's degree, or even further when they go back to get their doctorate. Now, I do know some people get their master's degree right after they get their bachelor's, And honestly, you'll be fine if that's the route that you take. But I can say that I'm glad that I worked a little bit to see what I'm doing, and now I'm going back to get my master's. And so it just made it easier for me to know exactly what I want to learn. Okay, so the next thing I learned over my last 2 years of working as a mechanical engineer is just how important having a mentor is. I was blessed enough to meet my mentor pretty much in my first day even learning about the job. They were actually a part of my interview panel. So once I talked to them the first time, they pretty much kept up with me, and they were initially supposed to be my supervisor. But once they got a new position, they just kept in touch with me and some of the other younger engineers, and we all met with them continuously. I can honestly say that the guidance I've gotten from my mentor is what has helped me become the engineer I am today. And that goes for the knowledge that I've learned, just knowing how to move around in the corporate world, and even thinking about what I should do in the future as far as getting my master's degree and going to another job or moving to different locations that may benefit me in the long run. The main thing is making sure that the person who is your mentor is someone in a position you want to one day be in. Now, that doesn't mean they're working at the place you want to work at or they're doing exactly what you want to do, but that can mean the level of success they've seen in their career. And that's what it's meant for me. The person that's my mentor, they have a lot of knowledge. I see that many people respect them, even outside of our company, and I also see how much they care about people under them. And I want to be the same way. I know I've only been working for 2 years now, but anybody new that comes in, I try to give them my little advice for that first year and what they should look out for, what they should do, what they should possibly try to look into as far as trainings, things of that nature. My reasoning behind that is just to make sure that the same way she treated me and the same energy she put into me, I'm also building that bridge for the person behind me and just helping everyone I can. And my final point that I want to talk about today is just how fast time passes while working in your career. Like I said, I've been working for 2 years now, and I promise it feels like it's been about 6 months. And I don't mean literally feels like 6 months, but when I compare how these last 2 years have felt time-wise, it's almost comparable to 6 months of college time. And so one of my theories is that the year being chopped up into semesters and a summer break and a winter break and a spring break, I think it just makes it feel a little bit slower. But when you're working, you're just trying to get to the next weekend. It feels like there are some breaks and there's some vacations you may have scheduled and some time off you may have scheduled, but each week is kind of the same when it comes to time-wise. You may be doing different things, but ultimately you're still going to work. You don't have long breaks like you would in college. So I've definitely had to adjust to this change in how time goes. And one way I've adjusted is by just learning to live in the moment. I think sometimes when you get in your career, and me being a person that have high aspirations, I always think about how I can continue to move up, how I can continue going to the next step and years down the line. And I really think that's one of the things that may have made the years fly by in a quick way to me. So one of the things I've been doing lately is just thanking God for me being in the position that I'm in right now, because I'm in a position that I prayed for in the past. And to be in a prayer is a blessing. I try to thank God for being in this, and I try to enjoy the day-to-day, and I try to enjoy the process of moving up. Since I've started doing this, things do seem like they've slowed down a little bit. I know for me, things are gonna change a lot once I start school due to me being in school full-time and not having to work. So I know my time may slow down a little bit from that as well. Now, I just went over a few points that were big to me for my last 2 years, but I've learned a whole bunch while working these past 2 years. And overall, I just want to say, once you start working in your career, you're never going to stop learning, or you shouldn't stop learning. If you feel like once you start your career that your learning has stopped, then it's time to reevaluate some things and change how you go about your career. If you want to grow in your career, if you want to grow as a person, if you want to be the best person you can be, there should always be continuous growth no matter what you're doing. That growth can come from reading, that growth can come from just experience, or that growth can come from a person in a position you want to be in. But ultimately, growth should be continuously happening so that way you can truly reach your full potential. So like I said, man, all these points are points that even if you're not a mechanical engineer, you can take heed of and keep in mind when you do start your career, or start to pay a little bit more attention to it if you're already in your career. Appreciate y'all for checking this video out, man. Make sure you like the video, and let me know in the comments also what's some of the things that you've learned since you've been working, or what's some of the things that you feel like you've noticed while working if you started working already in your career. Also, man, make sure y'all subscribe and check out my previous videos. It's knowledge in all of them, and it's something you can gain from every video I post, no matter what you do for your work and what your lifestyle is. I appreciate the support. Peace.